Alrighty, hello everybody. Thank you for tuning in again. Welcome back to Historian of Paradise, where we're all lost, and I'm lost too. So, instead of making it like the last episode, I'm just gonna jump right in. Do you ever wonder what rule breaking is like? Because one Pablo Picasso often said, or once said, let's go with once said, learn the rules like a pro and break them like an novice. Today I'm going to be talking about how I decided and when I decided to pursue art. And this is an episode that I know is going to strike deep with the art students out there, which I'm hoping it really does, as it struck really deep with me. It is a long journey, and for some people it's pretty easy. For me, it was kind of hard. I always thought art was a side thing. So let's jump right in. I decided to pursue art in high school. I think that's around when most people are conscious enough to make their decisions for college, but like the rest of the crowd, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. At first, I wanted to be an engineer because I liked building stuff with my hands. Little by little, I learned that's not exactly how engineering works. Took a physics class, and it killed it for me. But I was always still drawing, and I always found time to be creative and do art on the side. It's always been something I've supported and rather enjoyed. So when the option to take 2D art in high school came up, I took it. I'm never gonna forget the first day coming in and just being like, wow, I have the chance to take art outside of elementary school and middle school as a requirement. This is the one elective I got to pick. And I'm never gonna forget learning like stuff like complementary colors and tertiary colors in that class, because that was something completely foreign to me in terms of tertiary colors. I'd never heard that term. Oh, and that teacher, I loved that teacher. Her name was Miss Lucas. She is the reason that my eyes opened to the world of art, and I will always be thankful. But going back to the story, I feel like I've kind of deviated a little bit just because I want to ramble and yap. But going back to the central story, that first day, it was pretty basic syllabus stuff. Stuff I didn't really care about, and I was breezing through some like the basic written knowledge because, the stuff that's complementary colors and shades are kind of ingrained into you from a young age as requirements. And also, any of you ever wonder why we're required to take art so young? I think I covered that in my first episode, but art is an essential tool. It's how you promote creative thinking, and I will stand by that. It's how you figure out how to express your emotions in a productive way. That's part of it. But going back, the best part for me of that high school class easily was the grid drawing, and that's where I felt like I shined a little bit, where I wasn't too sure about how to draw portraits. My portraiture's always been kind of mid. It carries over into my college years too. That'll be in the next episode, where I talk about a little bit of like the college art life. But I remember that assignment vividly. We had to pick a person and grid them out and do it in black and white. I originally chose Thanos, and she said that was not realistic enough because there was CG involved. So I then chose Tom Holland, and I was really proud of that piece, even though I didn't trust the process all the way through. It was quite interesting just to go through with it, especially when I was doubting myself the whole time. But after that initial 2D drawing class, I was always my mindset shifted to maybe I could make a business with art. Something where I can make my own stuff. So my brain didn't originally choose to study art solely. I wanted to think about going into business. This will come in later in the story. But going back the following year, my senior year of high school, before this was 2019, 2020, pre-COVID. After COVID, it was kind of hit and miss for me, but art did get me through it. So I get selected to join this AP art class, and I look at my class roster and I was like, I don't remember picking this. I don't want to take AP art. I don't want to do college level art. I didn't sign up for this. I wanted something easier. And then I walk into the class. Excuse me, guys. I walk into the class and it's the same teacher, and she goes, first off, I want to thank you guys for being here, and I want you all to know I handpicked all of you for this class because of your skill set. And that shot my ego through the roof. Like anybody who hears that, their ego must have gone through the roof for that little second of time. And I was like, if I'm good enough to be picked by this teacher to keep doing art, maybe I'm meant to be doing art at some capacity that's higher than just a side hobby. And that's when I learned a lot about the creative process, like journaling, not journaling, but writing down the specifications of your piece, titling it, what materials you use, the dimensions, and also sticking to a coherent theme, regardless of the quality of the excuse me. Sorry about that. But regardless of the quality and sizes of the piece, I chose a really weird prompt. So my thing was I wanted to use wires because I really liked line work, and I chose the influence of technology on today's generation, and the way I chose to express it was wires forming into animals or skulls and stuff like that, and then it would typically be depicted as rather monstrous while strangling someone in high school in like a cafeteria or something. I made like a monster that looked like a Pokemon in the Pokemon muck, composed of rainbow wiring, holding a child up like it was being held up by puppet strings. It kind of played a little bit on like the childlike fun, but the seriousness of the topic. I think that was a really good piece. My favorite was probably a skull piece I made, where it kind of like showed what the kid's skeleton was morphing into due to technology, because I do believe today's generation, mine included, have a really big technology issue. Like, we're addicted to it and we can't really put it down just because it's around. Like, I always have my phone on me. I'll be one of the first to admit I'm addicted to my phone. Just about one of the only addictions I got. But I wanted to choose how to depict that, and that taught me a lot about the part of my creative process, which is using references and morphing it to what I want to get it to. That kind of goes into like my mini college projects of corrupting childhood, making freaky monsters out of childhood icons like Mike Wazowski, Mickey, stuff like that. But it's where like a little bit of my horror influence started coming in, because I learned I could make really, really tight line work. And I was like, what if I break this and make it gross? Because wrinkles are nasty and creepy, and I can make little pits of flesh like that. Instead of perfectly straight lines, I can make them wiggly all over the place. So I learned a lot about my style in that sense, where I'm extraordinarily line work heavy and in line variation. But that was an essential part of me learning to pick art, The real kicker for me was um, once COVID hit, I was already doing my AA, and then once I graduated with my AA out of high school and passed my AP art class, I was doing business classes over at a local community college here where I live. And what happened was I was doing them and I didn't really feel satisfied with it. It wasn't something I was thoroughly enjoying. I was not happy studying business. It was not what I thought it was going to be. And I learned, I was like, I really only like one thing. I like talking and writing and making art itself, so that I made the big decision to pursue art that way. It felt kind of gun-ho, but looking back, it was not exactly gun-ho. And for a lot of you out there, I know it's really hard to get a degree in something you like that's not medical or engineering or something in the STEM field, because you want to make money, and admittedly an art degree is a risk. It is a huge risk. But if it's something you're passionate about, I will be the first to tell you, take the risk. Not all of us are going to make it all the time. That's just a given. Most of us take this degree knowing that this is going to be a side hustle till you blow up, essentially. And if you blow up, you're not going to blow up. It's not guaranteed. But if you put in the work for it, if you put in the work to create, something will be made with your name on it. Keep that in mind. So going back to the story here, it's kind of funny overall just how that's what made me choose it, just finally realizing I'm not happy with anything else. And I will jump a little bit into why I think you should pursue this. I'm trying my best not to speed run through this because I'm thinking while I speak to add some more bullet points that I think would be important. But I do genuinely think if you're passionate about art, or if you are not happy in your major and you don't know what to study, to pursue art, and maybe you'll find an awakening in it, or you already have found an awakening in it, because art is never going to go away. Even though the degree it feels like you studied everything and nothing at the same time, because you're not going to feel the immediate value of your degree. That's just how it is. But going into the college I went to for art, it's not an arts college, but this college has an art program, and I think it's pretty good for what it is. I found a lot of useful skills that you can learn in these classes. Like ceramics is useful. You learn how to make pottery and how to work markets through that, because there's only one way to get out with ceramics. But then you go look at sculpture as a 3D media, and you get to learn how to weld and how to woodwork and even how to use cloth. You mean to tell me that's not a practical set of skills you can carry out into the real world? Because as an artist, those skills are essential. You do have to take a 3D media class to understand how to work with anything outside of a 2D plane. It's an essential skill set to have. And I chose to study sculpture, and because I knew I could get something practical out of it and apply it to somewhere else as a backup plan. And I'm using that backup plan now. The woodworking section was probably one of my favorite experiences of all time. I made a 3-foot hand with foam, cloth, and a wooden frame and plastic for nails for one assignment in my beginning sculpture class, and it was amazing. I learned how to spot weld with a clampy looking spot welder device that was huge, and I made a 3-foot cigarette out of it. That's insane to me that I got to use that level of skill set in an art class, if you think about it. But another thing that you really do gain is creative problem solving. Whether people can acknowledge it or not, you learn to look at things from a different angle just because something's not working out the way you want it to initially. Like, let's say your assignment is to draw something realistic and you're not entirely like confident in your realism style. You're gonna find a way to warp that realism into something you can do. I was doing a nature drawing assignment, and I found out that my line work skills, while they're really my lines are typically very cartoony. That's the way I like to describe them. They're very cartoony. They're either thick and bold or super thin. Translate really well into a mix of, like, the way my professor described it was feminine line work in my flowers. They have like a softness to it when I'm drawing nature. Because you can also see there's a level of precision to it. My shading changes completely when I'm drawing something like that. And that project taught me I could, choose a different style and still get a desired result that matched the prompt. And, art school was challenging. That's another thing I like. If I don't feel like I'm challenged, I'm not going to really feel like I'm satisfied. And every class I took had some sort of challenge that I had to overcome, whether it's a rebellious nature in art itself where you go, I'm not going to do it your way. I'm going to do it as close to my way as possible and still get the best grade possible. And that's honestly what makes or breaks an artist. I will tell you this right now. If you're not able to put some finesse in your pieces, I think you should not be able to call yourself an artist, because you're just copying. You have the skill set of one, but you don't have the mind. The mind of an artist is a really crucial thing that I want to talk about later on in this podcast. Not today, because today is about pursuing art. The mindset has a very heavy play in that kind of influence. But what I do want to talk about now is how to figure out why you should pursue art. Because I talk about how I figured it out, and maybe you can apply that process to you, but I think the key fundamental step to figuring out you want to study art, like a key step in that process, is looking into yourself and looking at just how long you've been producing art and whether it's been something you've been passionate about, or you're just like, yeah, I can draw. Like, do you draw or do you draw? Because I think those are two separate things. When I say I draw, it's because I'm sitting down and I'm thinking of what I'm gonna do, how I'm gonna do it, and what can I do to make it the best piece possible, as opposed to, oh yeah, that's cool, I'm gonna sketch that. And this is something I'm coming to terms with recently. Up until now, I wouldn't really consider myself a real artist because I was just doing it for the hell of it. Like certain things, like ruining childhood icons, it was just fun. That was kind of my whole shtick. But recently I've had this little epiphany where I want to create because I want to show an extension of me and like the culture I'm around. And it's been a little bit of a struggle because of the position I'm in currently, where I'm working 2 jobs. That's why this podcast is also taking a little longer to get out there, but I will get it out every 2 weeks up until I'm able to get it out weekly. So I'll keep y'all updated. But I think another fundamental step is, do you have do you have the guts to really go up and think about where this degree is going to take you? Because I'm not going to lie to anyone here. This was a hard degree to justify, because it's not easy, man. It's not easy choosing an area of study so competitive and undervalued at the same time, and then justifying it to yourself, if you know what I mean. Because the first thing I remember graduating college, and the first thing I did was apply to 16 print shops, and all of them in my area told me the same dang thing. Good luck, buddy. We have our people. That's something I studied for 3 semesters at US. We're not gonna say my college's name. I don't want y'all figuring out where I live. That was pretty close. But I studied that that creative process of printmaking for 3 semesters, and I fell in love. That was where I really figured out that I was meant to be studying art, because I fell in love with the process itself. Whether it be the intaglio of etching on iron and letting the acid bath chew it up and making that your line work, or the relief prints on lino and wood. That was eye-opening to me. I was like, I can make something out of myself in this process. I can make t-shirts. I can do whatever I want as long as I hone this process. And to this day, I still believe that. I'm working on it. I have a brand that I'm working on the side. This is part of it. You know, we're in the age of creating. Everything that you make as an artist should be considered art, because it's a creative process. But going back to the key steps, I think if you can justify that degree to yourself, all the power to you to keep studying. And I will say, it doesn't necessarily have to be a major. If you want to take it as a minor because you think you have the skill set to, and you think you can get something out of this, who knows? You might choose to pursue it as a major because you took it as a minor. I will recommend all people study art so they get a better appreciation of such a fundamental thing in our lives. It's very empowering to have studied this subject. Even as boring as the art history classes are, guys, you learn a lot about human history throughout the art history classes. The ancient Greek pottery class I took taught me, while I've forgotten the name of the techniques, I learned about different vases, what the shapes meant. You learn how to read the mythology on the vases, because that's how storytelling was told. Like, do you understand the contribution that art has brought to the human world? It is our first true language. It's how we choose to express ourselves to this date. And it keeps evolving. Yes, I know we're in a time where everything has been done. You know what hasn't been done? Doing something that has been done your way. Because just because it was done before you doesn't mean you can't warp it into something you've done. That's the hard part now. And that's one of the deterring things that I think people don't want to study art for, other than the fact that it feels like a useless degree, which it is not. I know I complain about it a lot to friends and family about it sometimes, where I'm like, I feel like I studied something useless. But then I go back to looking at it, I'm like, no, if I ever need what I studied, I have it on deck. And I learned how to use a lot of media, and I am forever grateful for it. But what you gotta realize going into this field is, it is a very selfish choice. It's very much you're doing it for you, nobody else but you. It's because you enjoy this above all else. Once you start studying this, it's past the point of a hobby. It is a part of you, and it will forever be a part of you, whether you regret taking it or not. And I hope you never regret taking it, because this field needs more people. We need more creatives in this world. I don't think there are enough creatives in this world. And that's not including non-physical media like YouTube, cinema, music, stuff that you can stream or like not have to draw something for, or print. Like, think about that. Music is an art form. Video creation is an art form in itself, and cinematography is its own distinct field in the art world. Like, that's kind of crazy. Same thing as music. But they're all the way we choose to communicate and convey the human experience. What's more beautiful than that? Why would you not want to study something like that? And honestly, studying video editing, that's a good way to study art. That's very practical. Everybody needs someone to edit videos. But overall, I really think that art should be studied more. And I think you should figure out whether this helps you or not. In that journey, I think you should figure out how you want to be an artist, and if you want to be an artist. Because I think the world just needs more people like us around. Otherwise, life would be boring. And do you want life to be boring? No. No one wants to live a gray, dull life like The Giver. We all want to, get that injection in the apple and finally start seeing color, enjoying our free will. So, what I really want to end the episode off on today is, while choosing art may be a risk, it's a risk worth taking. Do it for you and keep pushing creativity forward.